Hi, Daphne.
Hi, Mother. She said, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. I hit record, so we didn't have any time to have the giggles before we started, because we always get the giggles. That always happens.
We're just ready.
Yeah, we're just ready tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight is a no giggle sesh. Well, that's so not going to be true.
That was a hard eye roll on my
Yeah,
part.
I was going to say that's so not true, but no giggles before we start. We save the giggles for the episode.
Yes.
We save it for the pod.
For the pod.
You got to say it like I did. Pod.
For the pad.
For the pod.
Okay.
It's like potty.
Like the Boston accent?
Yeah.
That we probably also suck at, like your Australian accent.
Hey, I've already told you, no one ever said I was good at it. So it's not like, I'm walking around thinking I'm the hottest shit since sliced bread when I do an accent.
There you go. At least you know.
At least I know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. What is it? IYK?
Sure.
IYK? If you know, you know.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
I said that to you the other day and you're like, what does that mean? And I was like, if you know, you know. You're like, what? I was like, no, that's what it means. If you know, you know.
Shit.
It's fine.
It's fine. What's your disturbing fact?
Okay, so this led me on a rabbit hole of what's going to be a series of disturbing facts.
Super great.
Yeah. I wanted to know, out of my morbid sense of self, out of the morbs that I've been feeling recently, that how much of the United States is a graveyard?
A lot of it, I'll betcha.
A lot of it is, yeah. So they estimate that roughly cemeteries are around 140 acres of the United States, which doesn't sound like a great chunk. But graveyards, which those two things are used synonymously, right? Like the term graveyard versus cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
Graveyard used to be referred to as a grave in a churchyard, but now graveyards are like illegal dumping of bodies, right? Like
Alrighty.
illegal burials, or it's actually legal to be buried on your own property. Did you know that?
That's so
You just have to have permission to do it before you die.
Alrighty then.
But anyway, they estimate that burial in total in the United States is actually around 1 million acres of land.
Jeez, that's a lot. I believe it though, because sometimes you drive past a cemetery and it just goes on forever.
Right.
And those are the ones we just drive past. And how many are we not driving past? And the illegal body dumps that we don't know about.
Well, and it's crazy. So I saw this satellite map that someone did of cemeteries, just cemeteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy because the further out west you go in this map, like starting from the East Coast, right, working your way to the West Coast, once you leave like all of the, what was like the original 13 colonies, the landmass for these graves, for cemeteries, I'm sorry. Like I said, those words are used synonymously, but I'm actually talking about cemeteries, the legal cemeteries.
Okay.
Are like few and far between. Like these red dots on this map show up a hell of a lot less the further out west you get, which that's attributed to the fact that like, the original burial is within like the southern states, the original 13 colonies.
Oh.
And back in war times and how cheap it was to be in a cemetery back in the day versus now it's so freaking expensive to be buried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then led me down a whole nother road. And this is going to be my like proper disturbing fact, if you will.
Okay.
So this is about death abroad in the Middle Ages. So this article says in the Middle Ages, death abroad proved a particular problem because those of a high rank wanted to be buried at home, right?
On their own property.
Not necessarily on their own property, but like in cemeteries at home. Like
in their homeland?
In their homeland.
Okay,
Well, I'm talking about being abroad.
Okay, I thought you meant like in their actual house.
So
like bury me under the kitchen floor.
No, not like that. Not like bury me under the kitchen floor.
Okay.
But
which don't do that.
Yeah.
Because that'll be in the basement.
That will be in the basement if you have a basement. If not, good for you.
Well, in our
But then
house.
you're still digging up your foundation of your house to be buried there.
Yeah, no.
Which doesn't sound like a great idea.
No, I already told you. I want to be cremated and then put in the ashtray of my car.
I know. It's kind of weird to me, but I also kind of like dig it. Then one day when I'm driving around Hanky the Tanky, I'll be like, I'll open up the ashtray and I'll be like, hi, Mom. Okay, so the attempts to preserve those bodies of like the elite people in society who wanted to be buried at home, doctors, monks, and butchers would remove like your innards, like all of your organs, and like bury them locally wherever you died at.
Okay.
And then the rest of the body was soaked in vinegar or was like salt treated, like salt cured. Like we talked about that pork.
Yeah.
That with Betty Lou Beets.
Yeah.
Right? It was with Betty Lou Beets, wasn't it? Or was it with the Giggling Granny? One or the other.
The Giggling Granny, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember pork with Betty Lou Beets.
Okay, so it was the Giggling Granny. But anyway, like that. And then wrapped in animal hides for transportation back to your wherever you came from. Back to wherever home is. And then if this like technique of what they called like embalming at that time wasn't successful, they would usually like just be left with a gross corpse on their way back home.
Gross.
Right? Like a rotting, decaying body.
And that's so weird. They take out your insides.
Yeah.
Because isn't that part of like the whole being buried thing is that you're all kept together?
That you're kept together. Yeah. So sometimes when that failed, they came up with another form of preservation for your body.
And I'm also kind of hyper focusing on the fact that you said butchers.
Yeah. Yeah, butchers would take apart your body.
Alrighty.
So sometimes, like when that failed, they came up with another method to, you know, get you back home, which was called, oh, I'm so going to butcher this. Shocker. Teutonicus. Something like that.
Wow.
So that method was developed, which involved cutting your body, which is probably where the butcher came in, into manageable pieces to be able to boil you and remove everything from your bones, which then they would take like the parts that like the flesh that was separated and again dispose of that
out of it.
Dispose of it locally, bury it, whatever they do with it locally. And then the bones could be sent back home.
That's so... I would just want to be buried where I died. Because
right?
if I knew that when I died, you were going to literally dissect my body and boil me, I would just be like, hey, it's cool. I'll just be buried here.
Yeah, I agree.
Ugh, that's so horrible.
Yeah, I don't think I'd dig that. But I guess, you know, if you didn't, I don't know how widespread, like how known the practices were at that time to get your body back home.
Well, somebody's got to be gossiping about it.
Maybe.
The butcher's going home at night and being like, oh my God, Helen, guess what?
Oh my God, Helen, you'll never believe what happened. And when we did that to Henry V's body.
Ugh.
Yeah, so that practice happened to him, the most, I'm not going to say it, term. And he ended up having his bones and his flesh all like boiled for whatever reason, even though I'm sure that still is not a nice decaying process either. And they were put in lead cases and buried underneath the Westminster Abbey. And that was a very controversial practice at the time.
I can imagine.
Pope, how do you say this? Boniface?
You just said it the same way twice, so okay.
Boniface?
I don't think so. It's not French.
The 8th, he condemned the practice, although it said that like other people in the church like were cool with the practice. So that's my disturbing fact.
That is so disturbing.
Isn't that kind of gross?
That's so gross.
I guess if you want to go back home, that's one way to do it, right?
No, it isn't.
Well, this was back like
I know
when like Henry V was alive when they were still using that practice.
Yeah, still.
Now they have whatever the proper embalming stuff is, which we'll probably get to at another point during this death series of disturbing facts that I will bring to you throughout the course of your episodes.
All right.
Yeah,
Can't
because
wait.
I like super rabbit holed. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I don't know why. I think it was because of the cemetery I went and traveled to the other day. Not that I like, anyway. I didn't like go out. Well, I kind of did go out of my way to go to a cemetery the other day. But I was in this town called Victor, Colorado. That is the that was the 5th most populated town in Colorado during the gold rush.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious, so I wanted to go to the cemetery and went and hiked around in a foot of snow at the cemetery.
Nice.
And looked around. Although I was kind of shocked that, like, I couldn't find super old graves. But because of how snowy it was, some parts were, like, actually a foot of snow and some weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, the graves weren't as old as I would have expected them to be there.
Well, maybe there's another part or another cemetery.
Yeah, perhaps. But I don't know. It's a pretty freaking small town.
Well, when we go and stay at the Victor Hotel, we can put that in our
I have several
itinerary.
times that I'm going to go stay there. I'm going to get an EMF machine, and we'll have to do an episode on this.
Okay.
Another haunted Denver Metro. Even though it's not technically Denver Metro.
No.
It's just haunted Colorado.
Yeah, because that's far, far away.
But that's neither here nor there.
In a land far, far away.
In a land far, far away. So what do you have for me today, Mom? Now that we're done talking about death.
Death and boiling dead people.
Death and boiling dead people and separating their innards from their outards. And, like, I'm looking for a word right now that's not coming to my mouth.
Dismemberment of bodies in order to get them home.
No, not what I was going to say. I was going to say salt curing
Oh,
and...
God. I wish you wouldn't say that because that's so nasty.
Salt treatment.
Ugh.
And what's that word I'm looking for? Like when you soak meat, like when you marinate. When you marinate the body in vinegar
Ugh. Gross. Wow.
to preserve it on its journey home.
Thanks, Daff. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Gross. And then they get home and they're all like, who's having salad? It smells like salad dressing.
Ew. That just made me like want to gag in my mouth, actually. The rest of it, nah, I don't like blood, but like, or like a lot of bodily things, I guess. That's hence why I didn't go into like the field of being a doctor,
The field of it.
the field of medical sciences and such. But when you just said that just made me ick.
Okay, I'm sorry. Because my thing was over the top.
Your thing was over the top.
I don't think so. You're talking about salt curing.
I also found another fact, which I guess I could just share.
Do it.
Because, again, it was me trailing down this rabbit hole. It was me falling down like Alice
Right.
about why people are buried 6 feet under.
Ooh, yeah, I need to know.
Because it would prevent bodies from being dug up by animals and predators that could smell, you know, the rotting flesh and stuff, and like we're looking for a meal.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they also say, like, if you're going to bury a body, bury a dog on top of it. And that way it'll throw off the scent for, like, search animals. And then, you know, they'll dig up dog first and be like, oh, it was just a dog that this dog was smelling, right?
Yeah.
Bury an
sorry.
animal.
Yeah.
But I assume you'd want to do, like, a larger animal, like a dog, like a larger breed
Or a
dog.
village of rats.
Ew.
Well, because I love dogs.
I do, too. But if I'm burying a body, I'm sorry. I will go find some roadkill before I will find
Daphne.
a rat. Before I'll find a fucking village of rats to take out. I mean, don't get me wrong. Taking out rats, that's a pleasure. But, because I hate rodents. I would rather see them all dead than alive. But, sorry. That also just made me think about this horrible show that you and I watched. And this lady's body got covered in honey and then mice just ate her alive. You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was. It was like a Canadian show.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But I didn't dig it.
No,
I was hoping it'd be scarier than it was. Instead, it gave me more ick.
Yeah, it was stupid and gross.
Yeah, it wasn't very suspenseful either. Like, I saw I saw who the murderer was the whole time. Saw it coming from a mile away. I didn't know why. I don't know why the plot was the way it was.
It was poorly written.
Yeah.
That's why.
But anyway,
All right.
yeah, I'd rather find roadkill.
Well, thanks for all of that.
I'd rather find a dead deer on the side of the road.
Still sad. Okay, can we stop talking about dead animals?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in the case of me burying a body,
Okay.
like, you probably won't find a rat.
Well, you have to find a whole bunch of them. But anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah.
We'll just stop.
Okay, there you
stop
go.
on that. So I did MK.
My 15-minute long disturbing fact.
Shit. I did Project MK Ultra because I needed something light after the last couple of, especially after your last one, after Martin Bryant.
Yeah, that was tragic and horrible.
What do we call him? The douchebag, or what do we call him? the fuckface of Australia?
Yeah, something like that. The fuckface.
Something. Something.
The douche who should have stayed in his canoe.
Yeah, something like that, because we weren't going to say his name. But anyway, so after that, and after, like, sometimes you just need, like, a palate cleanser, and this is a palate cleanser.
Okay, give it to me.
Okay.
Give it to me, baby.
Have you heard of Project MK Ultra?
Yeah, I asked you about Charles Manson being involved in this because of this book that Patty told me about.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that it wasn't actually credible.
There was no evidence to back it up.
Yeah, therefore it's not credible.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a credible source if there's no actual evidence to back up the idea. And I know that some government project is also what Stranger Things was based off of.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
Well, I love Stranger Things, but that's like what I know about it, and like LSD.
Yeah. LSD.
And like acid.
Acid, man.
And like acid that's like tripping. Like this picture my dad sent me the other day that looked like it was tripping. And I said to him, yo, this picture you sent me looks like it's tripping. And he said, it's balls off.
Wow. Those texts that go back and forth between you guys.
It's funny. They make me laugh every single time.
Us, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so Project MK Ultra was the name of a program that was developed by the CIA. The project was the human experimentation with different drugs that could be used to weaken the mind during interrogations. So that was the purpose of the Project MK Ultra, right?
Get you ultra stoned so you tell the ultra truth.
Ultra truth. The project's roots came from Japanese and Nazi scientists working in concentration camps. The scientists conducted experiments on human subjects using like barbiturates and stuff, so like morphine and those kind of drugs, and mescaline, which is like a natural hallucinogenic.
My dog is on barbiturates.
She is.
For her epilepsy.
She is. And do you think you can mind meld her?
Maybe.
I'm going to go with no.
And her legs are also falling out from under her all the time from her barbiturate. She can't dance like she used to.
Aw, poor pigs.
I know. Well, no, her legs are actually fine. She just is a little bit more slippery than she used to be.
Yeah, because you made it sound like she can't walk. But no,
I
she's
know,
just
no.
more, she's a little more unsteady.
She's a little less stable than she once was.
There you go.
And mentally, too, because now we really get into fights.
All right, well, moving on back to MK Ultra.
Yeah, mind-melting drugs.
Yeah. So they were using drugs like morphine and mescaline, and the goal of these experiments was to try to develop like a truth serum.
What's mescaline?
It's a natural hallucinogenic, and I don't know where it comes from, and I could have looked it up, but I do know that it's a natural hallucinogenic. Something along the lines of mushrooms, but obviously it's not mushrooms, but it's natural.
Okay, so it's a natural psychedelic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. The Americans started conducting drug-related interrogation experiments in 1943.
That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. So
that's
like
around World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
Like around the ending of it.
Mm-hmm. Around the end of the Cold War, as they call it.
That's not the Cold War.
That is the Cold War.
That is not the Cold War.
No, it's not the Cold War. Sorry.
I'm like, that is not the Cold
You've
War.
You've had history way more recently than I have. And that wasn't my subject.
The Cold War, as the kids call it.
No, the end of the Cold War was in like the end of the 40s, beginning of the 50s. And yes, it was.
No, the Cold War?
Uh-huh.
The Cold War ended in like the 70s or the 80s, maybe even the 90s. No, we're going to
look it up. Okay, pause it.
I'm pausing it. That is not when it ended, yes, I promise you.
No, and recite your fact.
Yeah, it ended in 1991, like I literally just said.
But when did it start?
The 40s, 47.
Yes.
About the Soviet Union.
We're both right, but it didn't end. But okay,
it was it was like a nuclear scared war between us and the Soviet Union about like who like had nukes and stuff like that.
Right.
And
who's going to push the button.
Yeah, who's going to push the button, who's going to drop them first.
Right. I did know that part. But anyway.
Yeah, but it ended in the 90s.
But it started in the 40s.
Okay, but that's not when it ended.
Okay, it's not when it ended.
World War II, as the kids would call it.
So the experiments with the Americans started in 1943, which is World War II times,
as
right?
the kids would call it.
As the kids would call it. And it was my misconception, I don't know if it's anybody else's misconception, that LSD, lysergic acid dithylamide, was developed by the CIA, but it wasn't.
Okay, who was it developed by?
It was actually developed by a Swiss chemist named Albert Hofmann in 1938 in the Sandoz laboratories in Switzerland. And he developed several different types of lysergic acid compounds. And the last one that he developed was LSD 25, which is the one, like it's acid, it's LSD 25.
The most commonly known one and used.
Well, the one that it is what it is. And the main purpose of the research was to find a drug that would be a respiratory and circulatory stimulant, and it didn't really do that, and they didn't really continue testing it. It just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do.
So they were trying to use it to like help with
breathing and like circulatory issues, like oxygenating your body and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
was what they were looking for.
Which is those systems work together.
Yes, they do. So after that, or during that time, whatever, he developed these 25 different kinds, right? And then he's like, fuck it, I'm done with this because this isn't working. And so he put it on the shelf and he set it aside for 5 years.
Okay.
And he didn't deal with it, look at it again, right?
Oh, shit, is that how long it takes for acid to develop?
So
I feel like it's pretty mass produced.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're not wrong. On April 16th, 1943, Hoffman decided to take another look at the drug, and he was resynthesizing LSD-25, and he accidentally absorbed a small amount of the drug and discovered its powerful effects. This is a description of his experience. Affected by a remarkable restlessness combined with slight dizziness, at home I lay down and sank into a not unpleasant, intoxicated-like condition characterized by an extremely stimulated imagination. In a dreamlike state with eyes closed, I found the daylight to be unpleasantly glaring. I perceived an uninterrupted stream of fantastic pictures, extraordinary shapes with intense kaleidoscope play of colors. And after about 2 hours, this condition faded away.
Okay, so he had a good trip. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. I'm happy.
But it was accidental.
Yeah, it was accidental. You said it got absorbed through his skin.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering, why did he lay down?
Because he felt dizzy.
But you're not supposed to lay down when you're tripping. You're supposed to.
Well, he didn't know. He was the first person to ever do it.
He was the first tripper.
He was the first tripper.
It was his first trip on LSD.
Yeah.
It was anyone's first trip. It was everyone's first trip on LSD.
Yeah.
I'm wondering also, like, I feel like you don't hear dizziness as like a common side effect, but maybe that's what it has to do with the tripping part. Why they say tripping, why you're like tripping balls. Because you're dizzy and then you trip like physically.
I think it's because you take a trip in your mind.
Perhaps that's also a case.
I think that's what it is.
Take a journey with Alice down the rabbit hole.
There you go. With a kaleidoscope of colors.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. On April 19th, so this is shortly after, right? 1943, Hoffman intentionally ingested 0.25 milligrams of LSD, and he began to experience gradual changes in his perception. And so he had to get home, and he didn't know how he was going to get home. So he asked his assistant to help him get home, and the pair rode their bicycles to his house. And the reason they were on bikes was because it was World War II and there were like restrictions on vehicles and stuff. So people were riding bikes.
Right.
So on the way home, Hoffman began feeling anxious. He then switched his feelings back and forth between thinking his neighbor was a malevolent witch or that he himself was going insane because the LSD had poisoned him.
So he's having a bad trip this time.
Bad trip. And this would be known as Bicycle Day. So this is the first time that somebody like legitimately on purpose takes it to see what's going to happen. So
happy National Bicycle Day.
Yeah.
The day before 420.
It's not national because it's
international.
Okay.
Happy Bicycle Day.
Happy Bicycle Day. Hoffman had made a significant discovery of what he believed could be a powerful psychiatric tool. So not a respiratory tool or a circulatory tool.
Right,
but
his aim.
Yeah. So because of the intensity of his experience, he could never imagine that anyone would use it recreationally.
Shocker.
Right. So here you go. In 1947, LSD was introduced commercially under the trade name Dilicid with the intent to be used for various psychiatric conditions. And So is
this still in Switzerland or
this is in Switzerland.
Okay.
So this is that Sandoz laboratory is
producing
it to be sold under a brand name for psychiatric conditions. So
to give people the happies.
Well, to maybe, I don't know, to jolt their brain, to cause some kind of alternate effect to what's actually going on in their brain.
Okay.
Like just some kind of...
It wasn't created for the intended purpose, though, so this is them trying
It didn't work for the intended purpose.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, it didn't work for what it was intended to.
Correct. So also in 1947, the Navy began...
The start of the Cold War.
The Navy began Project Chatter, which was the first interrogation program using LSD-25 on human subjects. And
is this our Navy or their Navy?
Our Navy. In 1950, the CIA started conducting a series of interrogation projects involving human subjects. This was officially named Project Artichoke.
How did it get that name?
It's just it's like the whole, I don't know why.
It's just such a silly name.
It's just probably so people won't know what you're talking about. They're like, hey, Project Artichoke, hand me the butter.
Yeah, let's go get some artichokes.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, it was a series of interrogation projects involving human subjects, and it was officially named Project Artichoke on August 20th, 1951. So the experiment's been going on for a while before they name it. The object of Project Artichoke was to see if a person could be made involuntarily to perform an assassination with an amnesia effect as well.
Oh, shit.
Obviously,
was there an intended target for each of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously to kind of unconsciously take out someone and then not even know that you did it. Like you could be directed to do that, right?
Yeah.
Morphine, mescaline, and LSD were all given unknowingly to CIA agents.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On April 10th...
Tell me more.
Tell me more. So on April 10th, 1953, Alan Dulles, the new director of the CIA at that time, gave a speech to Princeton alumni, and he told attendees, in the past few years, we have become accustomed to hearing much about the battle for men's minds, the war of ideologies. And this is a quote, direct quote.
Okay.
I wonder, however, whether we clearly perceive the magnitude of the problem, whether we realize how sinister the battle for men's minds has become in Soviet hands. He continued, we might call it, in its new form, brain warfare.
Ooh.
So he coined the term brain warfare.
Gotcha.
So at this time in our history in America, we were concerned about communists infiltrating American society.
Cold War.
And the same week that Dulles delivered his speech, the New York Times had published an article asserting that American POWs returning from Korea may have been converted by communist brainwashers.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're going to start using this on them to try and bring them back.
So,
or find out info about them.
Well, they're like just convinced that they're using these hallucinogenic drugs to make this happen, right?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So MK Ultra was born out of fear of compromising American values. And Dulles stated that America was handicapped in brain warfare. So MK Ultra was a sub-project of Project Artichoke and specifically measured the effects of LSD-25. So they stopped using the mescaline. They stopped using like the morphine drugs, the barbiturates, like they stopped using all that and they just used LSD and nothing else.
You know what I was thinking? I've heard mescaline before. I've heard that name. I think it might be, you know, that psychedelic water that I have?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in that.
Oh, cool. Great. Alrighty. Hopefully not a lot. And that stuff tastes like shit.
The psychedelic water? I don't think it's gross.
It's gross. And it doesn't get you psychedelic-y.
No, it just gets you relaxed.
Yeah.
No, you definitely are not seeing rainbows and flowers with smiley faces on them and stuff.
You are not. You are not. So it was specifically for using LSD, right? And getting rid of all these other drugs that they were using.
So Ultra's just LSD.
Ultra's just LSD. LSD. It was approved on June 9th, 1953, and the CIA purchased 10 kilos of LSD, enough for 100 million doses.
Oh, shit.
Uh-huh. And
That's a
they got it
lot.
from Switzerland, right?
Yeah, because
So
it's legally manufactured there.
Because it's legally manufactured. So this would be an attempt to stop other countries from controlling the supply. And it was rumored that Russia was trying to get its hands on the world supply of LSD. So in the end, the CIA ended up buying an undocumented amount of LSD from Sandoz Laboratories in Switzerland.
But you just told me how much they bought.
Well, but
So it was later.
continued. It was continued amount. So it wasn't just the one-time purchase because they kept...
A one-time purchase of 100 or 10 kilos. How much was it?
10 kilos.
10 kilos. Okay.
Yeah. So it was, but that was, yeah. I think that was more speculation, or it was, I don't know.
So was that the amount that they bought over time or in total?
I think in total, that's what they bought.
Okay, gotcha. So that's come out since.
Well,
Okay.
We'll get there. We're also going to get there. The CIA devised several plans to dose foreign leaders in order to manipulate and weaken their minds, including Fidel Castro.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So they're like, we're going to dose Castro.
Like, we got you.
And in some cases, CIA...
Tell us what's happening in your mind.
Right. We want to know what's happening in Cuba. We want to turn you so that you can be uncommunist now.
Yeah.
And you can have American values.
No missile crisis for you.
Yeah. You can have American values.
That's so fucked up.
So fucked up. In some cases, the CIA front organizations were used to fund grants for academic researchers who had no idea what else their research was being used for. But like, you know, grad students were taking it, and like they were doing these controlled experiments, if you will. And they were, like I said, it was a grant from a CIA front organization. So they didn't know that the money was coming from the CIA to
Right. They
do
just
these
think
controlled.
that they're being research subjects. They just don't know what.
Right.
is
And
happening.
the researchers don't know either. Like nobody knows.
Then how are they consuming it?
Well, they're giving it to them. They know that they're doing LSD, but they don't know that it's for the CIA.
Oh, they don't know if they're doing CIA's dirty work.
Right. They just think it's a front organization. It's
Gotcha.
like, yeah, whatever the fronts were in that particular case.
No, that makes sense. They're like, hey, we're doing research on LSD for the Cubs Society.
Right.
It's like, ha ha ha, lo and behold, it's for the CIA.
For the CIA. So what we do know about MK Ultra is that experiments were conducted on mental patients, prisoners, drug addicts, and prostitutes, and they were all given LSD and they were then studied.
That doesn't sound very legal.
We're getting there.
This doesn't sound very legal or ethical.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I will say, though, it sounds like a lot of this is probably sealed because you keep saying what we do know, what we do know, what we do know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
No, I know you're going to get there. I'm not even concerned about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even concerned about that. I'm not asking you further questions. I'm just saying it sounds like a lot of this is sealed.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Because it's speculation. It's what we do
Some
know.
of it is speculation and some of it is confirmed fact. But yeah, some of the details are kind of sketchy. Let's just say that.
Word, I gotcha.
Word.
It's like it's kind of like Area 51, but like not really, because unless, there is other happenings happening within Area 51, we don't really know about that.
We don't really know.
But we do know that it was a front name, so they could, not. So other countries at this time too didn't know what was happening behind closed doors and what that project actually was for the bases of the nukes and all the things that they were holding there.
Right.
Which I'm totally spacing what they were holding there. I did a whole fucking episode on this.
It happens because the next 10 episodes that you do push it out.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
The one that's living in my head rent-free, that was the Abigail Project, ironically. Okay. Oh, is this something to do with the Abigail too?
No.
Oh, I was like, ooh.
I was just giving you a look because I'm wondering if you're just going to rehash all your episodes.
No, I'm not. I was just saying that lives in my head rent-free.
It's frightening.
Yeah, because those pictures I saw of it.
Yeah, those are also burned into my brain.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So LSD was given to CIA employees, military personnel, doctors, government agents, and members of the general public to study their reaction to the drug. The study was conducted in order to see if people would confess deep, dark secrets or if it could erase someone's mind completely, and then they would turn them into a robot agent.
Ooh.
A robot.
A robot.
A robot agent.
That's kind of suspicious that they're like, hey, little Helen, That's the example we used earlier. Helen walking on the street with her butcher husband at home.
Have some coffee.
How would you like to have this brownie?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like...
then they follow Helen around for 12 hours. And then they're going to
kidnap Helen and see what happens. Yeah. And like, if Helen's going to wake up and be like, who am I? Where am I?
And I'm not confessing anything.
And then the butcher's going to be like... Yo, I was going to tell you this crazy ass story about how they made me like hack up bodies and soak them in vinegar.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Sorry.
To make human salad dressing.
Human salad dressing, my favorite. Yum.
Military personnel were threatened with court martials if they told anyone.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's a covert operation, right?
Yeah, so some people know what they're doing and some people don't.
Giving drugs to people unknowingly or without informed consent is a violation of the Nuremberg Code that the United States had agreed to follow after World War II.
The United
States of America. So
I've heard of that before. The Nuremberg.
Yeah, it has a whole bunch of rules that everybody's supposed to follow.
Yeah, well, it's a huge like ethical thing. I've learned about that in school.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it was like experiments before this that were horrible that were happening, and that's why.
Well, and this was done right after World War II, but this is the 50s. Yeah, so they're doing it post the agreement.
Post the agreement,
yes.
Yeah, but I guess. I was going to say, if they're not telling anyone, is it really illegal? But yeah, it still is very much an ethical breach. That's for damn sure.
Exactly. So in 1955, Operation Midnight Climax was given the name given to a series of CIA experiments with LSD. And George White, who had a very reputable career in the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, was brought in for this operation. And he set up a sexy bedroom scene in an agency safe house at 225 Chestnut Street in San Francisco. He then hired a Berkeley engineering student to install bugging equipment and a two-way mirror. While he sat behind the mirror, martini in hand, sex workers would lure unsuspecting Johns to the bedroom, and then they were dosed with LSD. So White could observe their actions and behavior.
Were the prostitutes also on LSD?
Mm-mm.
So this is a complete A/B testing situation.
And I don't know if the prostitutes knew that they were doing it. I know that they knew that it was for some covert thing, obviously, because they're luring them there. They know that what's going on.
They're being watched with a two-way mirror.
Yeah, but I don't know that they know that it's LSD. That actually was not clear in this.
Gotcha.
Thing. So
wow, just so many ethical violations happening.
It's pretty.
I'd like to report all of this to HIPAA into the Nuremberg Code.
Yes. Naughty CIA.
Naughty CIA is correct. The United States government, man. Naughty.
So White would observe their behavior and their actions, and the sex workers were paid with just a small amount of cash and the promise that White would intercede if and when the women were arrested for solicitation. And other safe houses were also set up as brothels, and the subjects were recorded for further study and gathering data.
I'm sorry, this is a silly question. I hope, or just a silly comment, that I hope the prostitutes were also paid by the Johns for their services, not just by White for the study.
Yeah, I don't know. Because if you're tripping, do you think about getting your wallet out? I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're soliciting.
Yeah, maybe get the money up front.
Yeah.
I don't know. So somewhere along the way, White shifted his interest from studying the effects of LSD to voyeurism.
Nice.
Yes. White was later quoted as saying, quoted, "I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?"
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's quite the
statement.
That's quite the man of ethics.
Yeah. I'm like, he's like, oh, well, the government's cool with it, so I'm going to do all this shit. It's fine.
Right. He's like, it's for research.
Yeah. Hand me my martini. I'm just going to sit here and watch this sex stuff happen.
Yeah, it's all for research.
I'm going to watch live porn.
It's all for research.
It's all for research.
It's all to see what's going on. It's fine. It's the government's paying me to do this.
Right. And they're also supplying me with the martinis.
Yeah. The martinis, the LSD, anything I could want, man.
Right.
The government is my oyster.
That's right. For white, yes.
Yeah, for white.
So in some experiments...
I hope there's some justice coming to him.
Nah, nothing happens to him.
Okay.
Especially because he outwardly even said, it was cool. I loved it. And it was sanctioned. It was fine. But
Yeah.
that's it. That's the end of white. I know nothing more about white.
Okay, word. Hopefully he got some karma then. Some cosmic karma.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a major abuse of power.
A lot of this is a major abuse of power and a breach of ethics and morality. And yeah, it's all bad.
Morality schmorality. He's being bad. He's not being good.
He's being naughty,
Naughty, Mr. White.
Yes, naughty Mr. White. In some experiments, people were dosed without their knowledge. So again, people are getting dosed, right? And they were interrogated under bright lights with doctors taking notes. They were threatened by telling them if they didn't reveal their deep, dark secrets, they would extend their trip. Trip was a term coined by the CIA.
Okay.
People who underwent this were CIA agents and military personnel and agents who they suspected were working as double agents at the beginning of the Cold War. Long-term debilitation and several deaths resulted from this practice. Heroin addicts were dosed with the promise of getting heroin as a payment.
Shocker.
So, yeah, I mean, that's their government there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
So fucked up.
I feel like homeboys are under these like bright ass lights, right? And they're like
tripping balls.
They're tripping balls, and then they're like, "Tell me your secrets." And they're like, one time someone stuck a pinky up my butt.
Right. And look at the pretty colors.
Yeah, look at the pretty colors.
And the wall is dripping. So weird.
The wall is dripping beautiful paint.
Yes. And this chair speaks Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish.
It's my favorite show ever. Workaholics. I think this chair is Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. Oh, Alice.
Oh, Alice.
Yeah, no, I feel like that was probably a trip all within itself to be in all of these moments, watching all of this unfold.
It's so, it's random. So
it's so horrible, though, also.
It's not good. Sidney Gottlieb, who was in charge of MK Ultra, decided that it was important to get quote data from people in normal settings and not just having controlled environments. So people who worked in the CIA came to think of these acid trips as an occupational hazard.
Oh.
Because they just fucking dosed you while you were at work. And of course, there were adverse reactions to the drug. One employee who was dosed during his morning coffee became psychotic and ran through the streets of Washington, D.C., seeing a monster in every car that passed by him.
Oh, fuck. That's a really bad trip.
That's a bad trip. Dr. Frank Olson, an Army chemist, he was covertly dosed by his CIA supervisor, and 9 days later, he jumped to his death from a window of a 13th floor New York hotel room.
Oh, fuck.
And it was believed that the drug may have induced a deep depression. And it was said that Dr. Olson had approached his superiors sometime earlier, questioning the morality and ethics of the program, and he asked if he could resign from his position at the CIA.
Oh, so maybe he didn't, in fact, jump. Maybe he was pushed as a cover-up.
Maybe.
For wanting to resign and having these secrets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's like, this is not ethical.
I mean, I guess we could dig into that conspiracy theory, but I didn't.
Well, I just might have pulled that out of my ass, but I'm sure it's an existing conspiracy theory,
I'll bet you it is. I'll bet you. So some subjects' participation was consensual, and they seem to be singled out for even more extreme experiments.
They're consenting to it.
Because they're consenting.
They're like, yeah, sure, we'll do one dose. And then they're like, well, let's do 50 at once instead and see what happens to your brain.
See what happens. So in one case, 7 addicted African-American volunteers were given LSD for 77 consecutive days.
Oh my God. Were they okay? I feel like you're going to tell me.
There was just a lot of shit that happened. Like I said, there was death, there was debilitating effects, lingering effects.
Between these men that were given it for 77 days?
Between everybody that.
But do you know specifically about these people who
I do not specifically know about these people.
Okay.
I just know that,
That's more than 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 2.5 months.
So gangster Whitey Bulger was one of the prisoners who volunteered for what he told was an experiment aimed at finding a cure for schizophrenia. And he was dosed with LSD every day for over a year.
Oh my God. Do you keep hearing me gasp? I hope they can hear me on the pod. I hope this is picking up my gasping.
Gasp.
I don't know why I keep getting more and more shocked, but like this time you've done it.
Cool. Yay. I'm always like, why aren't you shocked? Well, yay. MK Ultra, our palate cleanser, is shocking.
Well, it's just so horrible.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And I would say it's unbelievable, but I guess I can't say that. So
yeah, that's how I feel too. But it sounds like it should be out of like some kind of a sci-fi movie.
Or like Stranger Things.
Yeah, not like our government is the one responsible for all of this.
Right.
And doing all of these horrible things.
Whitey Bulger later learned the truth about what had actually happened, and they were trying to find out what people's long-term use of LSD would do, and if a person would lose their mind under extreme dosing, or whether they would become like be able to mind meld them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Bulger said that he felt like he was losing his mind. And for several years afterwards, he suffered from nightmares and visual hallucinations.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Every time you crack your back, it gets released again, especially if you're like a heavy user.
Like every day for over a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was every day that they dosed him, but yeah, I guess it says he was dosed every day for over a year.
So that's what you literally just said.
That is what I literally just said. The CIA brought LSD to the United States, and as a result of their experiments in mind control, they inadvertently created a generation of people who took acid recreationally, and they were the anti-establishment generation who specifically were driven to bring down the CIA.
So this is like the 70s then that we're in.
60s.
60s?
So we're in the 60s.
Okay, so yeah, this is the hippie protesting the war.
Yeah, so the anti-establishment, anti-government, like the CIA is mind controlling, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. So then,
how did they get their hands, though, on the LSD? Because
people who were doing it with the knowledge of knowing that they were doing it, the consenting people were like, oh, hey, dude, this is fucking badass.
They were given it.
And somehow they were getting it. So I don't know. Or if they learned
they had their hookups at the CIA.
Right. Or if they learned how to manufacture it. Because, it was lysergic acid diethylamide. And they probably figured out how to do it. How to
25.
Make it. 25. MK Ultra was put to an end in 1963 when John Vance, who was part of the CIA Inspector General's staff, became aware of the project's unethical dosing of non-voluntary subjects. The MK Ultra directors tried to convince the CIA's independent audit board to let the research continue. But the Inspector General insisted that the agency follow the research ethics guidelines and stop all programs, projects, and non-consenting volunteers.
Jeez.
Yeah.
This is insane.
It's frightening.
So they're like, okay, you can continue doing this. Just don't do it on people that,
non-consenting.
Yeah. If they don't have your permission to get them high, then you can't get them high.
Right. MK Ultra researchers later dismissed LSD as a mind control drug. It was too unpredictable in its results, and they conceded that LSD was not the secret weapon that they thought it could be. However, they still believed it had a place in a cloak and dagger arsenal. It's like they're just going to keep it in their back pocket just in case.
Just in case they want to use it on like a POW or something.
Something.
Or Mr. Castro.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, I guess they used it on him, but...
No, they tried, or they thought about it. I don't think they ever were able to slip it to other military leaders, which was their goal.
Well, yeah, I would assume not. Oh my God, how suspicious would that be if I was like... Okay, so let's say I'm like a bodyguard for like someone who you're trying to give LSD to, and you're like, hey, have this cup of coffee. I might drink it instead to make sure there's not poison in it. And then what am I doing? I'm tripping balls. Castro didn't get none of that.
Nope, Castro did not. In 1977, Senator Edward Kennedy oversaw congressional hearings about MK Ultra. Ex-CIA agents were brought in for questioning, and they were asked who oversaw the program, how the participants were identified, how many participants were involved, and if any of these programs continued after 1963 when it was put to a stop by the Inspector General. Some details were discovered that were very disturbing, such as the suicide of Dr. Frank Olson, the drug addicts who were given drugs as payment, the people who were unknowingly dosed for days, weeks, months, and in some cases, such as Whitey Bulger, for over a year. And of course, there were a ton of, I don't know, I can't remember. So the next obvious step is to look at the MK Ultra records.
Oh, I guess they burned in the Great Fire of 1922.
In 1973, because of a mounting number of inquiries into MK Ultra, the CIA director told workers it would be a good idea to destroy the files. And he told them that it was because he was concerned about the participants' privacy and their embarrassment.
Not their own asses.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's why,
Yeah.
for sure. Not, and not because it was, to get rid of paper record of one of the most illegal, immoral, and unethical programs the United States has ever conducted.
Yeah. It was just to protect the participants.
Yes.
Whether they
From
were
embarrassment.
whether they were knowingly participants or not.
Exactly. Well, and who knows how they even identified them and stuff. So anyway, that's all I got.
This is purple artichoke. That's purple cabbage.
So that's all I got. But I was going to say on a side note, fun fact, MK Ultra and the Stargate Project, another covert government operation, were part of the inspiration for the Duffer Brothers' Stranger Things, Daphne's favorite.
I love Stranger Things.
From a Rolling Stone magazine article entitled Stranger Things, the CIA programs that inspired the hit series. In this article is from August 5th, 2016. I was like, 1916.
1916, damn.
Right.
How long the Duffer Brothers really been around? Conspiracy theory number 2.
So this is a direct quote. When Chief Hopper tracks down Terry Ives, the woman who attempted to sue the government for abuse after what happened to her at Hawkins, he and Ives' sister talk about Project MK Ultra. So they talk about it directly.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Eleven's mom in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she was supposed to be part of the project while she was pregnant with 11. And then they took 11 and then also experimented on her and did all this shit on her. And that's how she got her superpowers.
Yes. And I don't think any of the people who participated in MK Ultra got superpowers.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Or any of the people who unknowingly participated in MK Ultra.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. At least if you're going to do it, give me superpowers.
Right. I think it's so fucked up, though. And I also...
It's all really fucked up. Hearing all of that you just said is really fucked up.
Well, and I think... I don't know. I don't know why I thought the CIA had developed it. I guess I never heard anything prior to the CIA's use of it. So I guess I just figured that they're the ones that had developed it. And then...
Because they were looking for mind control substances to convert people.
Yeah, exactly. And then...
Sounds like a bad church group.
The LSD cult.
Yeah, exactly.
AKA the CIA.
Yeah, let's convert them.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Give
so
them
crazy.
some good old American values.
And then, then here you go. Where Charles Manson and Pink Floyd.
Did Charles Manson make claims of being a part of MK Ultra? Is that how all this came about?
I didn't see anything about it. I saw nothing about Charles Manson and MK Ultra. And when I looked it up, the only thing I found was that article about that book that said that it wasn't credible. But all these people at that time were doing LSD. They were all tripping, Right,
so maybe he was an unknowing participant because maybe he was one of those people.
Was an unknowing participant.
No. Hear me out.
In jail.
Hear my theory.
Okay.
This is during the 60s, right? When he was living on the, White Ranch? What's that called?
I can't remember.
Something Ranch. The Hollywood set, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's living there. He's giving all of his followers LSD. Maybe he was getting LSD from the government as one of the participants and then supplying it to his peeps.
I think I would have come across something about that. But you never know,
Yeah,
I guess,
but-
because everything was destroyed in
Well,
1973.
and what if those Black Panthers that were coming after him for the money,
Mm-hmm.
that he was like, oh, we're going to start a race war now. And he's all concerned that they're going to start a race war. And the motorcycle gang and all of them, what if they were really the CIA agents?
Well, and if you think about
theories.
it, for Manson, it did work as a mind control drug.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he got all of those people brainwashed, all of
Mhm.
his followers, his family.
His family.
He has
The Manson
family.
family.
He brainwashed his family.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then and then it became like a culture, like not even a subculture. It's like everybody's doing it. You know, Pink Floyd, the members of Pink Floyd are doing it. The Beatles are doing it. Like
Beach Boys.
the Beach Boys, like
They're all
everybody's
doing it.
doing it.
Anybody who's everybody who can get their hands on it is doing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What if that's...
As a mind expansion drug.
Well, that's how I just asked you how they were getting it. Because it's never clear, right? Like how people are actually getting
how
a
it
hold.
made it into mainstream
Yeah.
society.
So what if it... I mean, I'm sure people
learn how to develop it.
began to learn how to develop it, especially like now that, you know, it's a class 1 or whatever it is. Drug, right? It's a Schedule 1, I guess I should say, not a
You want
class.
to pause it really quick and I'll look it up? I bet you it just leads me back to MK Ultra though.
Okay, so it became illegal in 1966, and it's a Schedule 1 drug. We just looked all this up. And it said that it became a part of like mainstream media in the 50s when there were positive reports published about it from people taking it as undergraduates being studied, which would have coincided with them taking it unknowingly and as like a part of the study, right, for the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's how it probably made its way in, right? They like knew what they were taking.
Yeah,
They were told what they were taking because it was also being...
because they were being studied.
They probably had like 2 research projects happening at the same time then, right? I would assume. Like if they're publishing articles about this and they're knowing what they're getting and knowing what they're using, there's the CIA study, which is the under wraps, the MK Ultra, and then like the publicized studies, which are
The research. Because like I said, they were funding research
yeah,
with,
but it probably
and they didn't know that they were being funded by the CIA.
well, the CIA is probably taking their findings and like logging their findings, but then they don't know that. So they're taking these findings and publishing them.
Yes, exactly. Well, because they're researchers.
Yeah, exactly.
So the researchers are doing their research, and researchers, you know, write dissertations and articles, and that's how they get credibility and how they get more grant money and that kind of thing. And they didn't realize that they were doing it for the CIA. And then people were like, oh, this is kind of fun. I like it.
I'm buying my Charles Manson theory, though,
Okay.
that he
Go
took
ahead and
it
buy it.
unknowingly, or no, he took it knowingly or unknowingly, perhaps, and then was like, hey, I like that. Can I get some more of that as like a participant to be a study? But I mean, if all the files are burned and he was identified as Yellow Guitar,
yeah, but
then-
don't you think that he would have been like, oh, I was part of MK Ultra, man?
but he wouldn't know that he was part of it. How would he know? If
Because you randomly get dosed on acid and you've never had it before, and then you find out about MK Ultra
he
later
probably
in your
didn't
life.
get like randomly dosed. They probably like offered it to him. Didn't he dabble in other things before he started doing that?
Mm.
So maybe they found him on the street corner trying to buy some schweed. And
But then he would have known that he was given it, and then later in life he would have been like,
yeah, but not
I
if he
was
didn't
part
know that he was part of MK Ultra. Not if it wasn't under wraps. Not if it was under wraps.
of- at that point in time. But later in his life, he would have learned about MK Ultra, and
Unless he was
would have-
too mind controlled and he thought that he just created it or something.
I don't think that's it either. But anyway, you have your theory. It's fine. I just think.
Well, maybe that's where he got it from, though, in the first place. Like,
I think he would have bolstered.
from like one of his friends that like got it in that kind of way.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that.
And then he
I just
used
don't
them
think
as a
he was
connection,
part of-
getting it from the CIA.
Yeah, I don't think he was part of the actual study.
I just want to buy this, okay?
Okay, fine.
I want to
it.
buy what I'm selling.
Okay, buy away.
Yeah. I'm getting high on my own supply over here. I'm buying what I'm selling.
Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. All right, well, that's it. That's all I got for you.
I
What did
really
you think?
like it. It's thought-provoking as fuck and also like horribly unethical. And I, having a Bachelor of Science degree, have learned a lot about different studies and different like research.
I'm a college student. I can complete a sentence with real words.
research projects that have been done ethically, unethically. Like, oh my God, there's the one about like the syphilis project.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of what
Tuskegee.
Yeah, Tuskegee.
Mm-hmm.
That one's fucking horrible.
Yeah, that's terrible. There's a lot of horrible, terrible ones.
I mean, most of them are horrible, terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's also like the Stanford one. That one's horrible, terrible, where they kept the people awake forever.
Yeah. And what's the Puerto Rico birth control thing?
Oh my God, that's another that's a gut-wrenching one.
Yeah. They're all...
I mean, so is the Tuskegee.
That's why I said it's not totally and completely unbelievable that the government is capable of doing this shit. It's just frightening that they do.
Yeah. It's horrible. Yeah, no, it's very interesting to me, though, to learn about this kind of stuff, given the background that I have in learning about some of these things. And it's just thought-provoking and also horrible because a lot of, like, what I've talked about is ethics, right? And, like... what are the ethical guidelines for these kinds of things, right?
There aren't any, clearly.
Well, clearly, but like even if they were using ethics at one point in this study, like they don't know how it's going to affect different people. So then that's like, again, where do those ethical guidelines come in if, if John is seeing cars and thinking that they're monsters running through the streets, but Sarah is like seeing rainbows and sunshine and like is so happy and like dancing the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how it's going to affect these different people, which then, that's also the ethical violations of it.
The whole thing was unethical and immoral, and it was just wrong.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I think if it would have been consenting, it would have been a different story. But again,
they don't know how it...
Yeah.
Some of them were.
I don't know if the consenting thing, because it's like for everything they've done research on, right? So whether it's under wraps or a public research study, they've done research on literally everything.
You were part of a research study when you were a baby.
I know. And it's made it so fucking hard for me to fucking prove my vaccine records to places. You know how many arguments I've gotten into with schools about my vaccine records thanks to that study?
Sorry. But I saved you from getting all those shots.
You did. My mom had me get like a one and done. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a one and done. And like you were little.
It was MMRP.
It was the baby shots. So,
yeah.
The MMRP. And you were little. And so it was very sad because you were little. And they drew your blood. And you cried and screamed. But they only gave you one shot.
I was unconsenting to this.
Yeah, so maybe that was illegal and immoral on my part. But I did sign it as your parent, as your legal guardian, so maybe not. So they drew your blood like to get a baseline titer for it, and then you got the shot, and then I had to like take your temperature and measure the reaction area and like just note things like if you were running a fever or if you were if you were cranky, if you were sore, all these things, right? And you weren't. And then they drew your blood again and made sure that you were
vaccinated.
Yeah, made sure that your levels were good, that you were good to go.
Yeah.
So
that I had these things in my system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
Thanks. Instead of having to get multiple shots, which I probably wouldn't have had to get my blood drawn for, you probably would not have had to at least note your observations about your child.
Hey, well, you know how I like science.
Yeah, right? She has me in one of the clear things, like at the hospital.
An incubator?
That they put the babies in. And then she's watching me. She's like sitting there with her notepad.
And my ruler.
Yeah.
And my thermometer.
7:33 p.m. Noted.
Yeah.
XYZ.
Well, thank you for your contribution to medical science, vaccines, and all that whatnot.
Yeah.
So thanks, Steph.
Well, we have a history of that in our family. Being guinea pigs for things. It do be like that.
Yep. We like it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thought-provoking, different. Also sad. Different kind of sad, though, than murder.
And palate cleansing a little.
Trippy.
Yeah. Yo, man.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You didn't tell them where to go.
I think they know where to go.
You should follow us on Instagram.
You should trip on out to get us on the gram.
Yeah, you should trip on our gram. You should trip and stumble and fall somehow or another with your phone on our Instagram page. That's Disturbing Podcast. And if your fingers are tripping as fuck, send us a Gmail. That's disturbingpodcast@gmail.com. And, if you're feeling kind of groovy and want to send us some other cases that you'd like us to work on, you can hit us with a DM. Don't hit us too hard, though. That's unethical. Or send us a Gmail. Okay, now I can say it. Bye-bye.